Hi, good morning, and welcome to today's training webinar, the Self-Service Console Training. My name is Krista McLaughlin, and I'm part of the Psyches Medical Informatics team. And I'm joined today by my colleagues, Melanie and Michelle, who will be assisting me in answering questions that come up during today's training webinar. So let's talk about how to ask questions during today's training. So as you may have noticed, all phone lines have been muted to prevent background noise. But if you do have a question that comes up during the webinar, you can ask it live by accessing the Q&A box in the WebEx menu at the right of your screen, or if you've hovered your, if you expanded your view of the webinar, you'll just need to hover your cursor over the green bar located at the top of the screen to choose the Q&A menu option. We do ask folks to submit their questions to all panelists, as we do have Melanie and Michelle on the line to assist in answering questions. If you send your question just to the presenter, I may be too busy presenting slides to notice the question, so that's why we ask folks to use the all panelists option. And we do ask folks not to use the chat function, as that will not be monitored, only the Q&A. And I do ask, we had about 175 people register for this webinar today, so if your question is very specific to your use case alone, we may need to take your question may have to take your question down and follow up with you after the webinar. I may not be able to answer it, especially if it's a very specific case. But please feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar, and please note that the recording as well as the slides will be made available via email to everyone who attended today's training webinar, and we will be posting them on our website in the following week. So without further ado, let's talk about the agenda. So today we're going to be covering basically the self-service console. So we're going to learn about what the self-service console is, and then we're going to split up the agenda between if I'm a brand new user and what I need to know about the self-service console, whether it's requesting or activating a token, setting my PIN for the first time, or setting my security questions. And setting the security questions actually can be for both new users and existing users if you haven't already done so. But for our existing users, you may have noticed, and I hope you've logged into Psyches since our notification back in April, but if you haven't, you may notice that you need to update your PIN. If it's still a 4-digit PIN, you are going to be required to update your PIN to 8 digits. So we're going to talk about how to do that process if you haven't done so already. We're also going to talk about how you would go about resetting your PIN in the self-service console and troubleshooting other token issues, and then requesting a replacement token if needed. And then we'll end with talking about how to get help, whether it's the Psyches Help Desk or our local ITS Help Desk. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The self-service console. So what is it? So the self-service console is a way for users to manage their RSA tokens and their PINs. And this is for logging into any secure OMH application, including Psyches. Because Psyches has, I think we have about 15,000 users, maybe even more right now, we wanted to do a very specific training webinar about the self-service console, since it does affect your ability to log into this the Psyches application. But please note that RSA tokens and PINs are used for all OMH applications. So that's why it's such an important console and training to learn. So the console can be accessed at the mytoken.ny.gov website. And as of April of this year, OMH Security has been directing all of the new users to the self-service console to get their tokens. So if you're somebody who recently was granted access to Psyches in the last couple months, the way that you access your token might be different from someone else at your job who may have gotten their token a year or two ago. You were directed to use the self-service console, and that's the way that all users are going to be directed moving forward. So what's great about the self-service console is that users can not only activate their token in this console, but they can set security questions. And these security questions are then used if, let's say, for whatever reason, you may have forgotten your PIN. Instead of having to reach out to the Psyches Help Desk, who then has to redirect your ticket to the local ITS Help Desk for them to put you into new PIN mode, which, again, it requires a few steps along the way. Now this process can be done by you. You can log into the mytoken.ny.gov your account on the self-service console, answer your security questions that you made sure to set prior, and now you have the ability to reset your PIN. So if you're getting those authentication error messages, you have this capacity. And you can also request a replacement token in the self-service console. So that's the great part of the self-service console, is that it's putting a lot of the responsibilities on to the user, but it also means that the user sets their timeline on when things can get resolved, which is nice. All right, so I'm going to start by talking about some of the responsibilities for new users. So if I'm a brand new user and I want to get Psyches access, what am I doing? So first, let's say you're a new user and you want to have a mobile token. And the mobile token is one that's downloaded on your mobile device, and you can take it wherever you go. And this is a great option, especially if you're someone, a user who's accessing multiple computers while you're at work. Maybe you're working in an ER and you need to be able to log into Psyches on multiple different desktops. You might want to use a mobile token. Or if you're somebody who's going out into the field often and you want to be able to access Psyches on the go, we have a mobile app, and you would also probably want a mobile token to go with that. Or if you're someone who spends some time working both in the office and at home, and you want to be able to log into Psyches on all of these different settings, then you would want to perhaps have a mobile token. So let's talk about how users can request a mobile token using the self-service console. So first and foremost, for any OMH application, right, you're going to have to get granted Psyches access, and Psyches access is granted by your organization's security manager. So it's up to your security manager at every organization to determine which staff at your agency is allowed to have access to Psyches. So after the security manager goes into the SMS system, the security management system, creates an account for you, and then indicates that you should have Psyches access. So after your security manager has provided you the access to Psyches and SMS, what's going to happen is that you're going to receive an email from this AMS do not reply itsny.gov email address. And what's in that email is going to show you what it's going to provide you with a self-service console link, as well as a user ID and a password for you to log in. So this is an example email that I have right here. So here you can see in the email, I would navigate to the mytoken.ny.gov, and here are my login credentials in order to log in to this specific self-service console site. So my user ID is listed here, and my password is listed here. So this is easy for me to copy and paste, right? So let's go ahead and show what happens when you go into the mytoken.ny.gov. So if you click the link from within your email, it's going to bring you to a page that looks like this. The first thing that you're going to do is on the bottom left-hand corner of the self-service console site, you're going to indicate that user ID that was in your email address. So here's what that would look like. And then you're going to hit OK. The next thing you're going to do is the next screen that pops up is going to indicate what user ID that you entered. And then it's going to ask you, what's the authentication method that you're going to use? Are you going to use a password or a passcode? Because you haven't gotten your token yet, you're not going to be able to use the passcode option. So you're going to want to make sure that you have password selected here, because in that email that you were sent, you not only got a user ID, but you also got that password to log into your MyToken account. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to copy and paste that password right into this box here. So after you're putting in all of this information, you're going to go ahead and hit log on. All right, so now even though your security manager has already gone into SMS and given you permission to have Psyches access, you still need to go through this process where you have to select request new token, because you have to decide, especially if the security manager is giving you the mobile token option, you have to tell the self-service console what type of mobile device you have. And that's why you're going to be required to select request new token here. And that's under the My Authenticators section of your account within the self-service console. So you're going to go ahead and click this request new token option here. You're going to choose a token. Now, this is really important. So it's going to prompt you to select hardware or software token. So your security manager will have already made this option selection for you within SMS. And it should be noted that soft token options since April 2022 will be for mobile devices only. And this is due to security from RSA themselves. They are saying that for security reasons, they no longer allow desktop tokens. They only allow mobile tokens. So that's just something for people to be aware of. With new tokens, it will only, moving forward, be mobile devices. If you have a soft token right now that's on your desktop, that's totally fine. You can still use it, but just know that any new tokens that are being requested since April will be for mobile devices only. Now, there are some instances that we're aware of where, let's say I do work in a hospital and I'm not allowed to have my cell phone on the floor with me due to security purposes or due to internal policies at my organization. Those users may need to request a hard token. It looks like a key fob, something that you can have on your keychain. It's a physical token. So for these new users who need hard tokens, the security manager would need to have requested this when creating your account in SMS. So the security manager not only inputs your information and checks off Psyche's Medicaid in SMS, but they also indicate what type of token you should have. If your security manager has made a mistake and requested a soft token for you, but your policy at your organization doesn't allow for you to have a mobile device while you're working, if this was done in error, you can follow the steps listed for hard tokens in requesting a replacement token slide. So we're going to go through those in a moment, a little bit later on in the training, but there is an option in case that does happen. But just know that the soft token, the software option, is for mobile devices only as of April 2022. But let's say that the mobile device works for you. That's exactly the type of token that you need. So you're going to come down here and choose software. The next thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to have to select your device type. So what type of device do you have in order to import this token onto your new mobile device? Is it a BlackBerry? Is it a iOS device? Is it an Android? Is it a Windows phone? You'd have to make your selection in these radio buttons here. And then you can continue scrolling down on the page. So what's nice is that your serial device number will automatically already be included here. I put a bunch of X's here because this is a training, but this will show your device number. A tip that we suggest, especially if someone who works at multiple locations, is that you may want to give your device, your soft token, a nickname. So you either have it be your user ID or maybe the agency that you work at, so you don't confuse your tokens. So if you're somebody who works at Hospital A and Clinic B across the street, and they're two different agencies, you may need two different tokens, and you want to make sure you're not confusing those two. So that's just a tip here. And then you have the option of creating your PIN. So you must create a PIN for your new token. So you're requesting a token, but it's a dual authentication, right? So it's not enough just to get a token that has a passcode that generates every 60 seconds. A PIN needs to be associated with that token. So your PIN must be 8 characters long. It has to contain 8 numerical numbers. It cannot start with 0, and it can't be, very simple pins to guess, right? It can't be 11111 or 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, right? Like, it can't be any of those types of sequential or consecutive numbers. So you might have to get creative. One of the things that I always tell people is, especially on your mobile device, your keypad has letters associated with certain numbers. So you can, maybe spell out, a street name or your dog's name or something that is going to give you 8 characters that will be easier for you to remember, because I know it's a little tough to remember 8 digits for your PIN. All right, so once you've created your PIN and you've confirmed the PIN, you're going to go ahead and hit submit. On your page, you'll see you have successfully submitted your request. It even's going to give you a request number. So now you know that not only has your security manager granted you Psyche's access, but you've gone ahead and requested the type of token that you need in order for you to log in. All right, so now we're going to talk about how these new users not only have requested the type of token they need, but how to activate these tokens. So once your request has been completed, the RSA Secure ID app is going to be let's say you did it on a mobile device. If you're going to have it on the mobile device, then you need to first download the RSA Secure ID app onto your mobile device. That way your token has somewhere to go once it's ready. So another thing that you'll need to keep in mind is that you're going to have, when you're installing your token onto your mobile device, you're going to need to have both your desktop available to you and your mobile device available to you. And it's only for this one part of importing your token onto your mobile device. So you're going to need your desktop computer to view the self-service console, and you're going to need to make sure you have your mobile device close to you for the actual installation of the token. All right, so here's a screenshot of what you do in order to install the RSA Secure ID software app onto your phone. You're going to go to your App Store or your Google Play or whatever library that you use for your mobile device to download apps, right? You're going to go there and you're going to search for the RSA Secure ID. They've recently updated their icon, so I think it's just this cloud with a little check mark here if you're looking for a visual cue. And then you're just going to want to make sure that you're installing the appropriate app. So it's a free app, so if it's asking you to pay, that's not the right app. Also, please note that if you're using a work device, an App Store or a Google Play account password may be required, so you may need to work with your internal IT team in order to make sure that you have all the available information if that's your work device, let's say. All right, so now I have the RSA app downloaded onto my mobile device. I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to log back into my account. And this time I'm going to see that my token is going to be here. So my token's available to me. That's great. It's ready to be activated and it's ready to be installed on my device. So in order to do that, I need to select Activate Your Token. And that's what's showing up over here. And this is under the My Authentication section. All right. So when you select Activate My Token, a pop-up window is going to appear on the desktop with a QR code. And I know it's been 2.5 years, right, of COVID, so I think QR codes are a little bit more mainstream than they were previously. So these are what we were using to look at menus when we were going out to eat, right? So you're just going to use the same method that you would with your mobile device. You're going to open up your RSA ID app on your phone that you just recently downloaded, and you're going to want to scan this QR code right here, because this is how you're going to be able to import your token. Now, please note, that's why you have to have your phone readily available with you, because you only have the QR code for 5 minutes. It's a limited duration. So this is how you're going to scan it. You're going to scan the QR code by opening up the RSA app on your mobile device. So here's what's going to look like when it's in an Android. Here's what it looks like when you're on an iPhone. And you basically just need to find the Scan QR option. And so those are what's listed here. With your mobile device, you just want to hover the front-facing camera over the QR code that's displayed on the desktop screen. And you just need to align the QR code within frame, and the camera will automatically take a snapshot and import your token. Once the QR code is scanned, you will see a confirmation on both the desktop screen as well as your mobile device screen that the import was successful. So here's what it's going to look like on your desktop, and here's what it's going to look like on your mobile device. So this means that it worked well. Now that we've talked about the mobile token, I do also want to talk about the hard token. So let's say that you're at an organization where a mobile token isn't going to work for you, so your security manager went ahead and requested a hard token instead. If a hard token was requested by your security manager, you are going to receive 2 emails from this address, the enterprisersa.prod email. The first email is just going to let you know, hey, a hard token request has been submitted on your behalf. The second email, however, is going to let you know that the hard token request has been approved, including details you need in order to activate it. So once you've received the physical hard token in the mail, you just need to want to verify the serial number in the second email. So the second email is going to include the 9-digit serial number. So you just want to double check on the back of your hard physical token that the numbers match, right? Because otherwise it won't work. So that's just one thing that you'll do once you get your hard token in the mail, because the security manager went ahead and requested you getting a hard token. And you are going to make sure that the digits match, the serial numbers match. The hard tokens, I do want to make a note that the hard tokens are going to be sent to the organization's address on file. So you'll want to coordinate with your security manager to confirm that you guys know exactly where this is going. Because sometimes the address that's on file could be maybe like the billing main office versus I'm in a clinic, you know, 2.5 miles away. So you just want to make sure that you're coordinating with your security manager. If you're a new user, if they requested a hard token, make sure you understand where it's going to get mailed. If you misplace the token, or you deleted the hard token emails that you received, or the number on the back of the hard token doesn't match the serial number listed in the email, that's when you're going to have to notify the local service desk, and my last slide will have all of that contact information. So here's for the hard token information. So this is an example of this email looks like. So this is the email that you get when your request has been approved. So here you're seeing a lot of information. So here's my user ID. Here's the type key fob. Here's the confirmation number. But in this blue box here is what's really, really important, especially for our hard token. So first is the link, the token enablement details link. So this is the link I need to go to in order to enable my hard token for use. Here is the code that I need in order to appropriately enable my hard token. And then the serial number is what I want to check on the back of my physical token versus the serial number that's listed here. All right, so let's go ahead and make this link. Let's go ahead and select it. All right, so again, once you have the physical hard token, you're going to select that token enablement link, and you're going to enter in the user ID, the enablement code, and the token serial number listed in the email notification, right? So here's where I put the user ID, that enablement code in that blue box, as well as the token serial number. So you can copy and paste that information from the email, and then you're going to go ahead and hit OK. After successfully enabling your hard token, you're going to receive a message saying that your token is now ready for use. I'm going to pause here briefly before we talk about creating a PIN. So I'm going to check in with Melanie to see if we have any questions.
Hi, Kristen. There are no questions right now.
Okay, great. So for anybody who has joined maybe a little bit late, if you do have a question, we ask for you to use the Q&A function, and you submit your questions to all panelists, as I'm going to be presenting and may not be able to see your question while presenting. So make sure you're using the Q&A function and that you're sending it to all panelists. And then another note is that we're recording this training webinar, and we will be sending slides as well as the recording to all of the attendees today. All right, so now let's talk about how to create a PIN if you hadn't done so already. All right, so to create a PIN, you'll need to create a PIN to use with your token to log into the application. So the PIN is a little bit different depending on, or your login is going to be a little bit different if you're logging into an OMH application with a soft token versus a hard token. So when you're using a soft token, you're going to enter the PIN directly into the soft token, and it generates a passcode to log in. Whereas a hard token, in that user ID and then passcode option of Psyches, you're actually going to enter the PIN in first, plus the passcode to log in. So you're entering in those 8 digits that you created for a PIN, plus the 6 digits that appear on a hard token. Whereas the soft token, you're entering your PIN just into the mobile device, and then you would just be copying the 8-digit time-sensitive PIN. I'm sorry, the 60-second time-sensitive passcode to log into Psyches. So I just wanted to emphasize those two differences there. So here's an example of, okay, so let's say that here's my hard token. I haven't created a PIN yet for my hard token. How do I do that? So you come here to create PIN. Now again, PIN requirements must be 8 numerical digits, cannot start with a 0, and cannot have sequential or consecutive numbers. So again, our tip is to think of an 8-character phrase or word and use the phone keypad to create a PIN number. Maybe that would be beneficial. Now we're going to talk about how to set up security questions. And this isn't all just for new users. This would be great for an existing user who hasn't already set questions for themselves, because this is what you're going to need to do any troubleshooting when it comes to your token. All right, so all users are encouraged to set security questions for their token account, because security questions are going to help verify your identity. So if you do have an issue and you can't log in using your information, you have this ability to have answer security questions and then reassess how you can get some assistance. The console system asks you a series of questions, and it's going to save your answers. Now again, this will allow you to unlock your account in the future without having to reach out to the local service desk. And this step can be completed within the self-service console under the My Authenticators section. So here's an example. You've logged in and, okay, I've activated my token, I've updated my PIN. Now I want to make sure that I'm setting my security questions. And that's what's going to show up at the bottom of my self-service console page. Not configured, please set up your security questions and answers. So I'm going to go ahead and click this link here. You're going to need to answer up to 8 security questions. So you notice that they have the red asterisks here, which means it's a required field. Now what's nice is that you don't have to choose, like if you don't have, let's say that you don't have a childhood best friend, first and last name, or you can't remember the last name of your primary teacher in the 6th grade, no worries. You have the ability to use this drop down here to choose a prompt that is better for you. So you'll have to use one of these prompts here, and you'll just go ahead and for 8 questions, select a prompt and then answer appropriately. So here's an example of that being done here. And then once you've indicated all this information, and again, you want to make sure that you're writing things that you're going to remember, you're going to go ahead and submit your request. And you can do that at the top here or at the bottom. Your security questions, if they're done appropriately, will show the successfully registered option here. During logon, you may be prompted to answer those questions to verify your identity. All right, now we're going to talk about folks who are existing users who may not have updated their 4-digit PIN to the required 8-digit PIN. So these are for folks, and again, hopefully, because we had sent out a few communications about this a few months back, warning users about this big change. I know it was something that was really difficult, especially because not everybody maybe knew that this was happening. But this is something that, just in case we do have a couple other users who haven't gotten around to updating their PIN to 8 digits, these are the steps that you would want to follow. So again, you're going to go to the mytoken.ny.gov site, and you're going to enter in your user ID. So this is for folks who never created anything in the self-service console before, but they need to update their PIN. They would go ahead and put in their user ID. And then in this instance, I do want to preface that this is specifically for our provider partner users. If you are a OMH user, you would be using password, and it's the same password that you use to log into your computer at the state. But for the majority of our other users who are considered provider partners, non-OMH, you would come here and you could put passcode, because you know your 4-digit PIN, let's say. You just need to update it to 8-digit PINs, but you haven't done so already. So you can come here to the passcode option and select log on. From here, you can enter your current 4-digit PIN into your token. So whether you have a soft token or a mobile token or a desktop token, if you had a token previously to April of this year, you'd enter in whatever your current 4-digit PIN is, and it will generate a passcode. You'll just copy this passcode into this field here. Now again, I do want to emphasize that this is for folks who are already Psyches users and they just haven't had a chance to update their PIN from 4 to 8 digits. These are the steps for you. All right. So once you're logged into the self-service console account, you would come to the change PIN option here. And this is where you're going to go from a 4-digit to an 8-digit PIN, which is required to log into OMH applications now. So here you'd come and select change PIN. Now again, I emphasize this in many places throughout these slides, is PIN must contain 8 numerical digits, cannot start with a 0, and cannot have sequential or consecutive numbers. So you would put in whatever your current PIN is, and then what the new 8-digit PIN is. And one other thing is you can't reuse any of your last 3 PINs. So not a big issue when it comes to changing from 4 to 8 digits, right? Because you'll never have had an 8-digit PIN previously. But moving forward, that's also something to keep in mind. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hit save. If I've successfully changed my PIN, it's going to show me a confirmation on my page here. All right, so before I get into the troubleshooting token issues, I do want to stop again momentarily to check in with Melanie to see if we have any other questions.
Hi, Kristen. We have one question, and the user is asking, as the security manager, how will I know who the RSA is for? And I believe this is in terms of the RSA hard token when it is sent to the security manager.
Oh, okay, that's a great question. So if you're a security manager and you're going through the process of granting someone Psyches access and they're a new user, this is where you are going to be requested during that process of creating their account. There's a radio button where it's going to either prompt you to choose soft token or hard token. Now, if this is somebody who has an existing user account in SMS, you're just happening to grant them Psyches access, but they already have a token, then this wouldn't apply to them, right? This is only for new users who you're activating in SMS, creating a brand new account for them. You will be prompted in that SMS system to either say this is going to be a hard token or a soft token. If you select hard token, that hard token will be sent to the address that's on file within our concert system for OMH, but it will also send an email to the intended user because you'll have inputted their email address and their name in the account. So the user will get an email saying, hey, a hard token's coming. So for the security manager, it's kind of up to you both to keep your eyes peeled to look to see if you can keep an eye on when that RSA token gets shipped. I think it gets shipped within 3 to 5 business days, but I can double check on that.
Great, thank you, Kristen. Those are all the questions for now.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead, and I think this is going to be, I know it seems like a lot, the self-service console, but it's really just in the beginning, getting all of this stuff set up to help you save time later on if you have an issue with your token. So instead of having to rely on a third party to answer you or to get you into a new PIN mode, now you can do it all on your own, which is nice. So here are some tips for troubleshooting token issues now that you have the self-service console set up. All right, so if you are receiving an authentication error message when you attempt to log into Psyches and you know you're using the appropriate PIN, and you have no idea why this authentication error is occurring, don't keep trying. What we suggest is wait 15 minutes before trying again. So if after a couple times you know you're putting in the right PIN into your token, you're copying the passcode appropriately, you're using the right user ID, and you're still getting these authentication error messages, give yourself 15 minutes before trying again, since your account will automatically unlock after this time frame. If you're still unable to log in, so let's say you wait your 15 minutes and you try again and you're still getting an authentication error message, maybe you're starting to think, maybe I don't remember that 8-digit PIN, maybe I'm messing up one of the digits. Then you can still go to the mytoken.ny.gov and select Troubleshoot ID Token, which is to the far right. So I would either put in my user ID over here, But if I know I'm having an issue with my token or my PIN, I'm getting these authentication error messages, I want to just go ahead and reset my PIN, let's say, I can come to troubleshoot secure ID token on the right-hand side here. I will enter in my user ID and hit OK. So this is the user ID that I'm having issues with for my token. I will then have to answer security questions that I had previously set. So this is really important. This will prompt questions whether or not you have answered the security question. So this is why it's really important for you to have answered your security questions beforehand, because you can't do it after the fact, right? Because we already needed to confirm this is you, and that's how you did that, through answering these security questions. So this is what it's going to look like. So 3 of those 8 questions that I've previously answered should populate here. I don't know which 3 it'll be because those are selected randomly, but this is where I'd go to answer that information and then hit continue. Now, if I answer incorrectly, I will receive an authentication error message. I can re-enter my user ID and have the opportunity to answer 3 other of my 8 security questions. So if I hit OK and I go through the process again, I'll generate another 3 of the 8 questions, and it's in a random order. Now, this is what I was mentioning before. If you have not previously set your security questions, maybe you're looking at these security questions and are like, these don't look familiar at all. I don't even know what the answers would be for them. You most likely didn't set up your security questions previously. So if you haven't set those up previously, you're going to also get an authentication error message, and you're going to have to reach out to the local service desk for further assistance. So if you haven't set up your security questions, there's going to be no way for you to be able to reset your PIN by yourself. So that's why it's so important to set those up. Now, let's say I did answer the questions, right? I'm going to get taken to this page. So once I've successfully answered the questions, I'm going to get prompted to select what is my exact token issue. Is my token temporarily unavailable or misplaced? Is my token permanently lost or damaged? Or have I forgotten my PIN? So these are the 3 issues that I could potentially indicate. So let's say I show up to work and I realized, or maybe I lost my work phone or my cell phone, and that's where my token is, but I need to log into Psyches for XY reasons. You have the ability to select token is temporarily unavailable or misplaced. So if you need to still log into Psyches, but you don't have your token with you, and it's not lost, but it's just unavailable at the moment, you have this option here. It will provide you a emergency access token code. Now, this is what's really important. So if you are going to be receiving an emergency access token code, you will use this token code in conjunction with your user ID to log in. Now, this is what's really important, because when I was testing this out, I was having difficulty because I didn't read the directions. So the usage instructions, you can use the token code more than once. If you have a secure ID PIN, you need to, so if you've already set up your token, you have a PIN, you have a token, right, but you just temporarily misplaced your token and you want to use this option. When you're logging into Psyches, you'll use your user ID, but then in the passcode, you'll need to enter your PIN, then this emergency access token code. So that's really important to remember, because I kept copying just the emergency access token code to log in with my user ID, and I kept failing, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized it wasn't because I didn't read the instructions clearly. So you have to first enter in your PIN and then the token code, the emergency access token code. All right. So, and it's also going to tell you that this is valid. So it's going to give you, I think, 2 days of where this is valid, and keep this code in a safe place until you find your token. So once you find your token, you'll be able to use that instead, but this will give you a temporary access and the ability to try. So that's what's going to happen here when you're trying that emergency code and you do have your PIN set up. Make sure you're inputting your PIN first in the passcode and then copying and pasting that emergency token code here, right? And this is going to let me know that this has been successful. All right, so let's say that my token has been either lost or damaged, or some people their phone breaks or they lose their phone and they have no way to get their token again, you could use this option of token is either permanently lost or damaged. So let's go ahead and select that option. Now, what I'm going to have to do is provide details on what happened to the token. So what exactly happened? And then I need to create a token file password to import a new token. So this is going to create your password, which you need in order to export your token at a later time, or import, I should say. So you need to enter the password when you import the token into the RSA Secure ID app. So you'll just create a password, and it needs to be 8 characters long. The maximum length, I should say, is 8 characters. So you'll indicate a token file password here. And then you'll also need to create a PIN for this new token, that replacement token that you need to get. And the PIN is the same 8-digit, non-sequential, consecutive, doesn't start with a 0. Now, I think what would be the most used use case out of the token issues would be I forgot my PIN. So there could be an issue where maybe I am thinking of an old PIN. I can't remember the 8-digit PIN that I put in. I need to reset this. So here's that option. I forgot my PIN. And you'll go ahead and select that. And then you'll create a new PIN. Now, again, you cannot use one of, apparently it's the last 5 PINs. I think I misspoke before and said 3. So you have to create a new PIN, but it cannot be any of the previously set PINs that you've had that were 8 digits, right? So that's just something to keep in mind, that when you're creating a PIN, to use things, and again, that tip of like using a phrase or a word or a name with your keypad might come in helpful. All right, so once you've successfully changed your PIN, you're going to get prompted to test, run an authentication, let's say. So you'll put in your user ID, you'll input the PIN into that newly created PIN into your token, and then you'll generate a passcode. So here's how you can test that out. Now, if your test authentication was unsuccessful, hit back and re-enter your user ID and passcode. So just, again, be sure, and I always would start fresh with, like, if I got a unsuccessful test authentication, I would close the token out and reopen it and make sure and being really careful for inputting that 8 digits again, just to make sure that, I did it appropriately. So be sure that you're entering in the new PIN in your soft token, as well as providing enough time to enter the time-sensitive passcode. So that's the other thing. If it's about to, it's 60 seconds long. So if you see there's only 3 seconds left, I wouldn't rush to try to get it out then. Just wait until it refreshes and you have another 60 seconds to indicate. So here's what it's going to look like if your test login is successful. And now your new PIN is ready to use. All right, so now let's talk about requesting a replacement token. So if you get a new phone and need a replacement token, it must be requested in the self-service console. Additionally, if your security manager originally requested a soft token for you, but you require a hard token, a replacement token must be requested in the self-service console. So here's where you would request a replacement token. This is a little bit different than if you had something that was permanently lost or lost or stolen, because this option is like you still have your token available to you, but you just need a replacement token. So here you come in and you log in to the your self-service account, and then underneath the My Authenticators, you have the ability to request a new token, just like you did when you were a brand new user, right? It's the same indication here. So you go ahead and request a new token under the My Authenticator section, and then if you need a replacement token for your phone, you would select software. If you originally received a soft token for your mobile phone, but you need to replace it with a hard token because there's policies at your work setting where cell phones aren't allowed, then you might want to select hardware, because even though your security manager selected soft, you're going to need a hardware token. All right, so The next step is very much like we did previously, right? I would have to select the device. So I got a brand new phone. Maybe I switched from Android to Apple. I'm going to go ahead and make this selection here, right, et cetera. Now, soft token, what you need to do also besides creating a PIN is you need to indicate the reason for token request. So you must mention that you're replacing your existing soft token, because what's going to happen, and this is why it's different than permanently lost or damaged, right? Here you're requesting, reason for token request is because you have a brand new phone and you need to get a software token to be downloaded on this. Right, so, and the other reason for requesting that it's a replacement token is if OMH Security sees that you already have an active token and you haven't mentioned that this is to replace that token, then they won't approve the request. So one user, one token for that one agency. Now, it doesn't mean that if you work at multiple agencies, you can't have more than one token, but it's going to look up your user account under what agency, and if you already have an active token, they're not going to grant it. They only will if you mention that this is replacing your existing token. Now, here's what you would do if you're requesting a replacement token from a soft to a hard token. So again, you must mention that you are replacing your existing soft token. So clearly state that either a soft token was selected in error by your security manager, or a hard token is required because your work setting doesn't allow mobile devices. These are some options that you can put in the token request here. And this is what it looks like, this hard token. It looks like this little key fob here. Now, what's good about this section, and that you can do this in the self-service console, so unlike the first time you receive, if your security manager has gone ahead and requested a hard token from you from the jump, from when they first created your account, if you are actually getting a replacement token for a soft token, a replacement hard token for a soft token, what's nice here is that you can indicate where you want it to be shipped. So here's an indication of, like, you can actually, instead of having your work address be the place or wherever the billing address is that's listed for your agency in the OMH database, you could make it your office or your home if you wanted to be securely shipped, right? So this is an instance where you're able to indicate the shipping address here, whereas if the security manager requested a hard token from you from the beginning, it would be automatically sent to the address on file for your organization. All right, so after your request has been submitted, you are going to receive a confirmation number. And this is the confirmation number here. You can print the page, just so you can have it in your records. You can also make sure to look under your open request, which I'll show in a moment. So for either a soft or a hard token request, once your token is received, what you would do is just go ahead and go back to the importing and activating token slides that are a part of this slide deck if you want to make sure that you're following all the appropriate procedures for importing and activating your soft or hard token, which we already went through all those steps earlier in the training. All right, so after your request has been submitted, you can check the progress in your self-service console. So as you can see here, I have one request pending. So I'm waiting for my replacement token, and I can see if it's ready or not. And I can double check by looking here. And I can see if there's been previous completed steps, but I can also view the status of my pending request. So here, it's been approved by so-and-so, and it's just pending them sending along to me, whether it's the soft or the hard token. All right, so I'm going to talk a bit about the help desk support, and then I will leave it open for some questions. So if after following these instructions you are still experiencing difficulty logging in or issues with your token in general, then you'll need to contact the local service help desk. So our external providers who are non-state employees would contact the health@its.ny.gov, whereas our OMH state employees would contact the fixit@its.ny.gov. I'm putting the email addresses here versus the phone numbers because I've heard often that people who email get answered quicker. And then anywhere in the training slides that you see contact your local service desk or help desk, you'll just want to make sure that you're identifying what type of user you are, and that's the help desk that you would reach out to. Now, I didn't include Psyches in here because unfortunately for all of the things that the Psyches Help Desk can do, it cannot really do anything in regards to your PIN, your token, right? Because as I mentioned before, RSA tokens are managed for all OMH applications, not just for Psyches. So that's why we are unable to reset your PIN for you, right? Because this could be a token that's used in more than just Psyches. It could be used for a variety of different OMH applications. However, with the self-service console, this is now giving the user more responsibility, but also allowing them to do things more on their timetable versus being beholden to a service help desk in order to get things done. So I think the self-service console, although it is a little tricky in the beginning, and that's why we did a whole training webinar on how to use the the self-service console option, I think in the long run, it will save our users time because you will be able to request a replacement token, to reset your PIN, all of these things that you don't have to count on a third-party help desk for. Now, again, I'm going to put this note in. Your new PIN cannot begin with a 0 or have sequential or consecutive numbers. So here are some examples, but they're not listed to just these, right? You can't do 11223344. You can't do a lot of different things. So just, again, that tip of trying to think of a familiar phrase or word that could be 8 characters that you could use your mobile device to kind of use that number pad to coordinate those letters, that might be the best option for you. And again, you cannot reuse one of your 5 recently used PINs. So that's also something that's really important, is that because after a certain amount of time using your token, you will be required to update your PIN. I don't know the exact time frame. I'd have to double check with ITS on that. But after, I think it's every 3 or 6 months, you have to update your PIN. So it's really important you keep in mind if you've already used this code or name or whatever, you have to be mindful of that because you cannot reuse one of the 5. And it might seem like really strict rules, but this is in order for you to get access to protected health information. So that's why there's an emphasis on security here. So that's also another reason why desktop tokens are no longer being sent to users, because RSA themselves said it's not secure. Those who currently have a desktop token can continue to use those, but if you do need to request a new token, just be prepared. It will be a mobile token. So with that, I'm going to open it up to see if we have any other questions from today's training webinar. And I'm just going to, again, make a note that the slides as well as the recording will be sent to all of our attendees on today's training, as well as posting these to our website for those folks who couldn't join us today. We will make this available.
Hi, Kristen. We have a few final questions. The first one is, what browser should you be using the self-service console in?
That's a great question. So the browser doesn't matter. Words are hard. The browser doesn't matter in regards to the self-service console. I've used it in Edge. I've used it in Chrome. One thing I would mention is that Internet Explorer is being retired. So that might not be the best option. So just for folks to be aware of that, and that's just across the board that Internet Explorer is being retired. So if you are someone who is using IE a lot, maybe you should start using Edge or Chrome or one of the other browsers, but it doesn't matter.
Great, thank you. And then the next question is, what do I do if I haven't updated my PIN from the 4-digit to the 8-digit PIN? And I can't remember the old 4-digit PIN, and I've never created security questions in order to log into the self-service console.
All right. Well, unfortunately, in that situation, you would just need to reach out to the local service help desk for yourself and get yourself in new PIN mode. But what's great about that is once they've reset you, you will be able to set a 8-digit PIN for yourself. So it's really going to depend on how the local help desk is deciding it's going to reset your PIN. They might just put you in new PIN mode, and you're going to get prompted to log in when you log into Psyches for the first time. So what you would do is use your user ID and then leave your passcode blank on your token, and just use, I'm sorry, not your PIN blank on your token, and then hit the arrow button to generate that 8-digit passcode on your token, and then paste that into the Psyches application. Once you've done that, because that's what you would do if it was the first time logging in ever, because that'll allow you to set your PIN from there. But I think what the ITS Help Desk is doing more often is that it's saying like, hey, we put you in new PIN mode. Here's your temporary password to the self-service console, the mytoken.ny.gov. Use your user ID and this passcode to log in and set your PIN. So those are the two options that you may have. So it depends on who at the ITS Help Desk is working with you. They'll either just tell you that they put you in new PIN mode, and then you can go to Psyches, and you can log in using your user ID, leaving your PIN blank in your token, and entering in the passcode that automatically generates. And then it will request you to put in that 8-digit PIN, or they might reference you to the self-service console where they'll provide you a password for you to log in and create a PIN for yourself.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is what to do with hard tokens from previous employees that no longer work at the organization?
Oh, that's a great question. I might have to tap you in, Melanie, because it's been a while. But I believe what we used to require users is first the security manager. If someone's handing in their hard token because they no longer work for you guys, it is still up to the security manager to log into SMS and deactivate their Psyches access, because even though they don't have their token, you just want to be extra sure that you're getting you're withdrawing their Psyches access, just like you're collecting their keys to the office. I think what we asked people to do in the past is to send back the token to the OMH headquarters in Albany. And I think we have the address in our script notes for the help desk, but I don't know if that's still the case. So I'm going to ask Melanie, our help desk connoisseur, if that is accurate.
Yes, that is, Kristen. Thank you. And I can reach out to this user with that address for them via email.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. And then we have a couple more questions. So this one is, if a previously used RSA token has not been used in a while, should the security manager request a new token?
That's a great question. So it really depends on what a while is. So what happens is that if someone hasn't logged into, let's say, Psyches in the last 6 months, their access is going to be revoked due to inactivity. So the token could still work. Security manager would just need to go into the SMS system and check off Psyches Medicaid again, because what happens is that we automatically revoke people's access after 6 months of non-usage. Now, if you're somebody who, let's say the security manager went ahead and they reactivated the Psyches Medicaid access, and the person tries to log in and they're still not having any luck, they reach out to the ITS help desk to figure out how to get access again, and they let them know, like, oh, we just checked the SMS system and we see that your token has been expired, because that can happen too. Like right now I'm looking at my hard token, and my hard token expires in 2025. Soft tokens I think last a little bit longer, but you can also see that on your token information. So let me see if for RSA here, I'm going to open up my RSA token really quickly. And then you can always see the manage token options, and I can see token information, and then I can also see expiration date is 2035. So I should be set for a while, but those are the other ways that you can check when your token is expiring, and if your security manager reactivates your Psyches access and you're still having an issue, you'll just have to reach out to the ITS help desk and see what they think. So I know it's not a very specific answer, but it would depend on the circumstance.
Thank you. And then we have one final question. If you have a current desktop token, can we switch it to a mobile token?
Absolutely, you can, but you would need to reach out to, so what you would basically do is you would do the replacement token, right? You would do a replacement token steps, and then you can say, I currently have a desktop token, but I would like to switch to a mobile token in the self-service console. So if I jump back a couple slides here, I would just do it reason here. I'm replacing a desktop token for a mobile token. And then you would go through and follow the steps through importing and activating for your mobile token.
Great, thank you. Those are all the questions for today.
Amazing, and we ended right at 11. So I just want to thank everybody again. I know this is a little bit of a different training than, since we really didn't talk anything about psyches, but it's really important to know how to access it, right? So that's why we did this whole self-service console training. As I mentioned, we're going to have this available on the website within the next week, and we'll make sure to send the slides out to folks probably sometime tomorrow once we get the recording as well as the information from the registration. I just want to thank everybody again for joining us today, and please let us know if you have any questions about psyches. And I'm just going to make another note is that unfortunately, if there is an issue with your token or your PIN, you may still need to contact the local ITS help desk, but now you have a little bit more freedom in figuring out how you can help yourself using the self-service console. Thanks again.